So after years of fans screaming for this movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League has finally come out online. So for me, I've never really hated the 2017 version of Justice League. It's one that I have gone back to and rewatched a bit just for the sole purposes of seeing our heroes fighting together. I just loved it. That was the only thing I actually really enjoyed about the original cut. Majority of the kind of, not really the casting, but more the characterizations of the characters. Like, I don't like Batman in the Justice League. I don't like Flash. I don't like Cyborg. Majority of them I just don't like. Loads of them I thought in the original cut were wasted. As well, as time's gone on and the more we actually get information about the original cut, the more of a disgusting the movie I find it. All the behind the scenes stuff that happened with Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers just makes that movie really disgusting for me. So I went into this movie really excited. I actually thought we'd never get this. I always thought all those people who were screaming for it, I thought they were kind of just wasting their time, because I never thought we would ever see a Zack Snyder Justice League movie coming out. I thought he was done. I thought Warner Brothers was done. I thought, even though Zack Snyder was saying that he's got a cut, and he was saying it ever since people really started saying it when this movie came out, I just never thought we'd in a million years see this movie. But now that we've seen it, all 4 hours of it, I actually didn't watch it in all in one sitting. I think I watched it in, I think, 3 installments. I think I did like 1 to 2, 3 to 4, and then 5 to, well, the end of the movie. I loved it. I think 1 and 2 is a very weak start to it. I think it's weak in the fact that it's a very slow build up. Not like stuff happens, but the first 2 acts are very similar to the original cut. But the only difference is within the original cut is the fact that it's just really more fleshed out. You understand where a lot more information is coming from the original cut, where it just kind of briefly jumps over it. This movie really sets it up. The way this movie starts as well is like a billion times better than the original cut. I don't like the way the original cut with the podcast of the 2 kids coming up recording Superman. I hate that opening. I hate it so much. But the introduction to this movie I thought was fantastic. It made sense that this is the way it was meant to continue on, as well as a continuation to both Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. This actually feels like a continuation where the original cut didn't. This feels like an actual continuation of the storylines for Batman, Wonder Woman, all these characters. It feels like they're actually the same character. Because in the original cut, I didn't feel like Batman was the same guy. He just didn't feel like it. As well, Batman, I've said many times, Ben Affleck is my favourite Batman, and just to see him in this movie just brought me so much joy, because he is absolutely fantastic. And I said my kind of love for the original cut is seeing all our heroes fighting together. This is what I would have loved to see 4 years ago. The fight scenes in this, especially the big final battle with Steppenwolf, is, to say the least, amazing. One of my big kind of negatives with the final battle in the first movie was the fact that they were doing shit, and then as soon as Superman shows up, oh yay, everything's okay now, Superman's here, he just does everything. So it kind of just shows that in the original movie they don't need a team, they just need Superman. But in this movie, Superman is an asset to the team, but Superman is not the team. They work together, and they work really well together as well. What this movie does that they didn't do in the original cut is they used, in the original cut, there's so many characters in it, but none of them have time to shine. Where in this movie, Lois Lane, who I've said many times, I'm not a fan of Amy Adams as Lois Lane, but she gets more to do in here. But by more to do, I mean she's feels like she actually has a purpose. In the original cut, I felt like she just didn't have a purpose. As well with Alfred. Alfred is fantastic in this. I liked him in Batman vs Superman, but he was never sold. I never loved him as in Batman vs Superman. I thought he was great against Ben Affleck, but in this movie, he feels a fantastic character. Same Ezra Miller. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like Ezra Miller as a person. Just what I've gathered from, say, what he's done in the last year or just other things, I'm just not a fan of Ezra Miller. In The Flash, I didn't like him. In Fantastic Beasts, didn't like him. So when it was coming up that his own solo movie, I wasn't interested. The only thing I was interested with that movie was all the Batman. But after seeing this movie, I'm actually interested now to see what Ezra Miller can do with the character, because he actually really sold me on him as Barry Allen in this movie. There's some stuff I don't like, some more the comedic elements, but as a character, I think this Flash has got promising, and I'm actually excited to see what they're going to do moving forward with this version of the Flash. And easily the standout to me in this movie is, of course, Cyborg who I honestly didn't think would be a standout going in. I thought Cyborg would just be a throwaway character, just like he was in the original cut. But no, this character has got so much layers on top of him. He feels like an actual character in this movie where he didn't in the original cut. They gave him so much to do. If anything, he is the main character in a way, because there's so much happening with Cyborg. It actually makes me want to see that Cyborg movie that kind of quietly got pushed under the rug and never mentioned. And it also makes me kind of disappointed that we won't be seeing him in The Flash. Hopefully Warner Brothers can just whatever they have to do to Ray Fisher, because it's kind of obvious now what did happen behind the scenes. Well, I'm not going to get into, but Ray Fisher, I actually was blown away at how good he was as Cyborg, because going off the original cut, Cyborg isn't really a character in that movie. He's just kind of there. He doesn't really have a lot to do, but in this movie, honestly, Cyborg was probably my favorite part of the movie, if not maybe Batman was number one, but then Cyborg. Steppenwolf as well looks so much better. I haven't seen the original cut since I think this time last year, but I've seen a still image of the two of them side by side, and Steppenwolf looks weird. He looks dull and boring in the original cut, but in this movie he looks 10 times better. But not just Steppenwolf's character design, everything about this movie just looks better as a whole. Even the color tone that was dirty kind of red in the original cut, it's going back to the actual color tone that actually was intended to be, and it looks great. All of it, this movie looks fantastic. We get so much more backstory to every single character. We get more, Aquaman ties more into this movie than it does into the original cut. After watching Aquaman the first time, I was thinking you don't really need to see Justice League to go into this, but now you still don't need to see this movie going into Aquaman, but I feel like it will help because you get Mara, Amber Heard, as well as Willem Dafoe, so you get them in this movie. Wasn't actually expecting Willem Dafoe to show up, but just getting them in it really fleshes out his universe, and it just fleshes them all out to a point where they can all go off and spin off into their own little sections. Now, saying what happened with the Avengers, everyone had their stories and they all span off in different ways, but in the original cut you didn't really feel that, but here you feel where all their stories can go off and do their own special things now, which just really lets me up to love to see a continuation. I don't think we're ever going to get a continuation, but I would love to see a continuation going off from all these different points that it sets up, because Zack Snyder did reveal that this is a cliffhanger ending, because when he made it intentionally was to get a part 2. We probably will never get a part 2. Hopefully this does ridiculously well and we get a part 2, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, but here's hoping. Just the way this movie wrapped up, I loved it. I was shocked at how much I loved it. I went in thinking, this movie, as long as it's better than the original cut, I'll be happy. But I actually think this movie is better than Batman vs Superman. I loved it. I actually cannot wait to watch it again. Please God, give us a 4K release. I don't know if they will, because this is a negative, but this is just a negative on my end of things. My Wi-Fi wasn't actually strong enough to hold the 4K for 4 hours, so sometimes the quality would drop a bit, which of course is really not interesting to watch a movie where the quality keeps dropping. But that's why I hope they do release a 4K. Fingers crossed. Warner Brothers, please give us that 4K release. This movie as a whole, though, it was fantastic. I loved every second of it. Even though I said the first 2 acts were quite slow, I still really enjoyed the build up to this fantastic movie. I'm just blown away at how much I absolutely loved it. I went in with expectations. They weren't too high, they weren't too low, but I went in just hoping to have a good time, and I had a fantastic time watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. Make sure to let me know your comments in the comment section down below, what you thought of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Is it better than the original cut, or is it not? Personally, as you know, I love this movie. Cannot wait to rewatch it. I don't think it'll be anytime soon because it's 4 hours long, but I had a smile on my face for I think the last 2.5 hours of this movie. I just had a smile on my face just because of how much fun this movie really was. Absolutely really enjoyed the movie. But again, let me know your thoughts on the movie in the comment section down below. Click that subscribe button for more content from me in the future, and as always, thanks for watching.